I don't think I processed it at all for years. And I think I was so confused on like what any of that meant. I know that like I started to get really nervous in public. Like especially for the first show that I did on Good Luck Charlie, that show did very well. And for the 4-year span that we were on, anytime we'd leave the house, like was a thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And I don't think I understood that. I was like, now I look back and go, man, I wish I would be like, oh, that was so cool. You know, that was really like such an amazing experience. But at the time I was like, what's happening? Because you're developing and you're so awkward. And my most awkward years were on television, you know? So
on television and photographed by every single person.
And I look at the photos and I'm like, God, like, you know, like people look back at their photos like when they're in 8th grade and they're like, oh, I was so awkward in my yearbook photo. I'm like, well, everybody has a photo of me being awkward, you know? And so it's like, I think that was jarring, and it's something that you're like excited about, and then it happens and you're like, I don't really know how to handle this. But at the end of the day, though, it's like what we were just saying is like people are excited to see you. That's pretty cool, you know? Like that's an amazing feeling to know that like you did something that means something to them.
Did that change the experience at all because you were going through puberty and going through these awkward phases? Do you look back and think, oh, I wish I had done things differently because of it being such a transformative time in your life?
I really don't know.
That's like the thing. Like we didn't go to high school, like traditional high school, so it's hard to say like, oh man, I would give up this experience just to have a normalized experience, whatever that means. But I think we have a lot of different lessons we learned that from a traditional upbringing, but I don't know. It's hard to say that I would exchange it because it's very valuable, the lessons that we've learned. It's very weird to have a completely different life experience than a lot of our peers, but it definitely changed who we are as people.
Makes you grow up faster.
Makes you grow up fast. But then at the same time, like we're now like 25 and we look back on that and we're like, oh, those are, you know, going out in public as a 15-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever, and like being worried about like the public's perception of you is a very weird thought to have as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to have security or anything at the height of the attention?
Never like personal security. I mean, certainly when you go to events or something like that, you'd have to have security.
Most of that was just provided with the event. I mean, my grandma was always with me, so.
Yeah, so she was fending people off left and right.
Oh, really?
The linebacker, you know.
So your grandma was the person that was like always with you?
Yeah, she was like my caretaker. So she like took me around to set and was with me basically every day until I was like 16 or 17.
Did your whole family move out to California so that you could do, you know,
just
all the
grandma.
acting? Just your grandma.
Just
so your
grandma.
whole family stayed back in Indiana.
Yep.
So
that's so sweet.
How did that affect relationships with your family back home?
I have two sisters and a brother, so they finished their career. They graduated college and everything while I was doing that. It definitely like is I didn't really get to grow up with them, so I definitely missed some of those years, but I still kept in contact with them a lot. Like I still see my mom as much as I can, and I would go back there over the summer, like when we weren't filming or like before we were doing the shows, we'd have a lot of time off. So I still got to see them a lot, but it puts a strain on it, especially when we're filming for like. We filmed 6 to 8 months out of the year. You filmed like for a year straight, but your family was here.
Yeah, I want to ask about that. Like, I know there's like laws, like how long you can work and stuff. What is like a day when you're filming these, like, you're like regulars on a show? What would your schedule be like?
So 4-camera sitcoms, like, it's the best gig you can get in television for sure. It's a very niche job.
Very structured.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like the kind of work that it is, but as far as like structure goes, it's the closest thing to a 9 to 5 that you could have. I mean, our schedule personally on Good Luck Charlie was Monday through Friday. On Monday we would go in and we would do the table read, where you just read through the script, maybe rehearse a little bit, but they would change the script up a lot after the table read. You come in on Tuesday, you're there from like 9:30 to 3 rehearsing, and then you run through the whole script for all the writers from start to finish. And then they do more notes, change it up. Wednesday you come in, do the same exact thing, same exact time, but the network comes in, so it's writers and network, so now it's a bigger run through at the end of the day. And then they do final notes, and then Thursday and Friday you're filming. And for us, we've shot a live audience Friday night, so from like 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock we did like live scenes. And then Monday was a new episode. So you just 5 days in that span.